We're building tomorrow,
but we're human today.
where technology meets us.
And ideas lead the way. From business to connection, from vision into
We
sound,
turn the boldest ideas,
into something real and loud. The synthetic echo,
where human meets machine.
create it, build it, grow
Push
it.
beyond what you have seen.
The synthetic echo, the future starts right here.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Thank you for listening. I have no idea where you are when you're listening to this, but I appreciate you. Welcome to Synthetic Echo. I'm your host, Nathan Graham, the podcast where we talk about where technology meets humanity, especially in a growing business world. Today, I am over the top pumped. I've had CEOs on here. I have friends on here, but I've never had a CEO that is my friend on here. And so I am very excited about this today. My guest today is Mr. Michael Valdes, a leader whose career has taken him from investment banking to real estate to helping scale some of the biggest brands in the industry across the world. He spent years driving international growth with brands like Sotheby's, Coldwell Banker, Century 21, later helping EXP global expansion, and today serves as the CEO of LPT International and the global president of Aperture. He is also the author of Fire Your Friends, a book built around a powerful idea. Sometimes the people help you reach one level aren't the people who can take you to the next. Michael has helped open markets across dozens of countries, built businesses at massive scale, and learned firsthand that growth ultimately comes down to the people, leadership, and relationships. Mr. Michael Valdes, welcome to the Synthetic Echo. How are you, man?
Nathan, how are you, my brother?
Oh, not too bad. I got my coffee. I finished my gym. And as I said earlier, in Canada, any day that's not snowing is fantastic.
Well, I love that. That's a good thing. I'm doing the opposite. I'm sitting in my house in Dallas and it's over 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, that's with the weather you start making eggs on the sidewalk, isn't it?
Exactly right. Exactly right. Absolutely. Good to see you, my brother. First of all, congratulations on everything that you're doing. This podcast, the message that you're getting out to everyone, your book as well. So I'm happy to be here and have a conversation with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I will let the cat out of the bag. There is a possibility that some people, maybe you and others, inspired me to get it done finally. Because if you notice, that's when it all changed.
I know. I'm glad. That's awesome, brother.
Awesome. Well, normally I get to go into these podcasts with total strangers and I get to learn all these things about them, but I know a little bit more about you. So for the sake of the audience, just so they know where this conversation is coming from, why don't we share a little bit about where you're coming from, a little bit about your journey into the CEO, the business world, how you started out, and just a quick little bio, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, for sure. It's my 23rd year in real estate. As you mentioned, I'm the CEO of LPT Global. Prior to that was the chief growth officer of EXP, helped grow that company and scale it from 20,000 agents to just shy of 90,000 agents in less than 3 years. Opened up 27 countries for that brand. Prior to that was the global vice president of Realogy, now known as Anywhere, now known as Compass. And so there I spent 15 years mostly with the Sotheby's brand. Lived in Europe for 5 years, really expanding the European footprint for them. Opened up about 70 countries for them. And in my collective 20 plus years in real estate, I'm probably the only person and the only executive that can say that I've opened up 86 countries for 7 different brands. So a little bit about growth and expansion, I certainly know. And prior to that, I was an investment banker with Deutsche Bank for 10 years.
So clearly dreaming big has been lost on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't like to scale at all.
No. Well, okay, let's talk about that for a minute, because I think one of the most relatable things, what I love about the people and the feedback I get from the podcast is everybody is a human being that comes on here. And I'm pretty sure 7-year-old Michael Valdes didn't grow up thinking, you know what, all I want to do is help real estate companies expand. That doesn't seem like it's on. Like my daughter, I think, wants to be a scientist, a cook, and a fire truck.
Yeah, and a fire truck.
And a fire truck. Who knows? She's 7. So how did that shift happen? Like, how did you start off in a position to get these opportunities? Did you earn the positions? Did you how did you make that shift from going, I'm going to have a regular job to you today?
Look, I that's just such a great question. I think that I've always really been driven, and I think it came from my dad mostly. My dad was born in Cuba. He was actually Batista's attorney, was a political prisoner because of what happened in Cuba, was released during the Bay of Pigs in a prisoner exchange program. And so always was raised with tomorrow is never promised, and always work the hardest that you can for today. And I think that was always so intrinsically driven in me, where I always felt as though there was no safety net. And I always felt as though you always have to go for whatever you can do today because tomorrow is not promised.
See that? Yeah, I absolutely love that because I think I had a good friend of mine. He's in real estate. His name is Paul, and he grew up locally here. And his parents owned a Harley dealership, and so he started closing all these big deals his first year out of the gate. I think a lot of people looked at him. Where I remember you say like, "Oh, well, he's just so lucky." Paul has the connections.
Mm.
And what you just said there about working hard is I don't think I saw anybody work as hard as Paul. He may have had some connections. He may have had some gumption behind him.
Yeah.
And by no means am I implying that you grew up with connections. I'm just saying that that work hard ethic, that definitely seems to be the defining difference between success and mediocrity.
You know, it always seems like everyone says, "Oh, look at the overnight success 20 years later." Right? And so it is that thing of working hard, because there is no secret sauce. If somebody outworks somebody else, that's the person that's going to win.
Right.
I always believe that, there's the education that you have, whatever. Right now, we live in a world where technology, speaking about your podcast, is the greatest equalizer.
Hmm. Well, I love that line. Hustle beats talent any day.
100%. 100%.
So let's dive into that. You've spent a few years in the real estate world.
More
You
than
have seen well, more than I have. Like I'm 16 years young, so
yeah,
in the real estate
exactly.
world, and I'm a baby right now in this
That's
podcast.
right.
So you've seen technology shift real estate. Like I'm trying to think going back to like you said 15 years. If you go back 20 years, that was really before even internet and websites were a big thing.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, when I was in banking was when internet started. I'll be 60 this year. So when I was in banking, that was the early stages in the late 90s. So that was my banking career. So I saw the onset of technology in many ways.
So talk about that flow for a minute, a little bit of context.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen it go from companies going to push major technology, abandoning people, coming back to people, then internet really takes away, and then they seem to abandon the relationships again and then come back to the relationships. How have you seen that ebb and flow within banking and real estate and all the rest?
Look, I think the greatest lesson is that technology is never going to replace people. We always are going to be relational in whatever business we're in at some core level. And so technology is just going to advance a lot of different sectors, and it has already, and we see it every single day. I absolutely use AI every single day of my life. I've used it for a few things already this morning, and it just advances what we are doing for our own productivity. So I think that technology is a tool for really expanding the human relational aspect of whatever sector you're in, be it real estate or anything else.
See, I love that. 'Cause it seems to be a common theme. There seems to be two types of people in the business world that I'm noticing. One, it's how can technology begin to replace me and save me some wages? And sure, maybe you can use AI to replace a $50,000 a year job within your company, but that's not, correct me, that doesn't seem to really be the strength of AI. The strength of AI really seems to be that person who's making 50,000 a year and become 10 times more profitable. That you can pay them 80 or 90 and they're making 10 times the profit for you that they were prior, and everybody's a whole lot happier. Would you generally agree with that idea?
Look, it really is perspective, right? So the person who might be replaced as the social media manager that's making 50 grand, if that same person were to use AI, they can create a social media AI managing company where they can actually come in and really focus on different value. Like, I don't necessarily need somebody to go post my reels daily because there's a lot of technology for that. I need somebody to be a strategist for me in building a brand. Do you see how that shift can happen for someone? So someone that's going to be replaced, by technology is someone who can actually use those same cards being dealt for them to improve what they're doing.
So, kind of hand in cheek here. So, you're kind of saying basically it's up to the person who's using it.
Of course it is.
Yeah. Well, you say of course, but it's funny. There's a lot of doom and gloom. Like I was chatting with someone at the beginning of this year. There was a lot of AI is going to replace all the jobs and blah blah blah, all the rest. I'm of the belief, and this is just my 2 cents about it, that I think AI has the potential to replace a lot of jobs. I've met people who don't care. I call them the how did I want to coin it? There's a kind of person who never cares about their job or cares about what it does. And what has sustained them in the working force was they went from one crappy job to another to another. They always hated it. And then they quit or get fired. And then they just find another one. I feel like those jobs are going to be replaced very quickly by AI.
So,
Yet, AI is
yeah,
going to allow you to expand you as well, right? Into this beautiful creativity.
I think that there's a marked nuance difference between someone who's doing a job and someone who's doing a career.
Hmm.
And so a job is very transactional. And anything that's transactional can and probably will be replaced by technology at some point. Someone who's actually creating value for someone else and using technology to get to that value be even of greater value, that person will become invaluable, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And so when you start looking at that, it is technology is nothing to be feared. It is something to be capitalized on, integrated, and looked at as a tool.
So let's get uncomfortable for a minute. Bet you
Yeah,
really wanted me to hear me say that.
come on now.
Let's look at real estate agents, because let's face it, we know that the stats are out there. 80% of agents fail within the first 2 years. I know because I teach and train a lot of them. The vast majority do not treat it like a business. They treat it like a job. And there is a real possibility that AI is going to work a lot of them out of the business. And then their supplementary job of, well, I didn't cut it as in real estate, so I'll go as an admin. That's going to be worked out too, because now an agent can be 100 times more productive.
That's right.
What trends, let's go with positive and negative though, so people know if they're in a negative trend state. What positive, negative trends are you seeing realtors use with this technology?
Well, let's go to the positive. I mean, think about the everyday uses of what we could do with this, depending on the state that you're in or the province that you're in. I'm not going to give you state or provincial law, but if you actually utilize AI to help you write your listing agreements, to review what you're doing with your contracts, to help you upload your photographs of a new listing on MLS. These are things that were all very time consuming. There might be a staging possibility. Remember when we all had to sort of like charge all these like things for staging companies? Now you can actually have virtual representations using AI in 10 different formats to give somebody a true vision of what that end result can be for someone. So if you use technology and say, you know what I always say, look at it from the point of that user. So if I'm a buyer and I'm looking at your listing, show me what I need to know. And so that's where you use the technology for that. I think on the other side of things, also, ChatGPT or any other AI tool will, in essence, be a global MLS. And what do I mean by that? It is if I'm saying, send me the top 10 agents in Ottawa, guess what? It's going to give you 10 answers. And so now, if you're not one of those agents in that response that consumer just used, then you should actually go back and say to ChatGPT, give me the blueprint on how I come up as a result for the next user that asks that question. And guess what's going to happen? They're going to give you 20 steps to figure out what you need to do in your business career to really be one of those 10 people that are now the response, as opposed to saying, oh my gosh, I'm not one of the 10 when a consumer chases for me. I might as well get out of the business.
You talked earlier about AI being the great equalizer, and I really hope any realtors or business owners for that matter really pay attention to what was just said there. You can no longer at this moment buy your way to the top of the rankings, which means the teams that did 300, 400, 500, 700,000 deals a year that used to just smoke you in a marketing budget, if they're not cluing into this, they're not going to be around in 5 years, because you, as an individual agent, as someone just breaking into the industry, has the potential tools to show up before them. How huge is that? Talking about the great equalizer, about how, so share your thoughts on that. How the little guy can start competing against the big guy.
Well, look, it's in every aspect of that too, right? Because then somebody who's coming in new to the business and they're a genius on social media, guess what? They are going to beat the established team that's been in a market for 10 years plus. And all of a sudden, there's a newcomer that is bringing business in, because there might be that buyer who's coming into the area. So they may not have the track record in a specific geographic location, but if they're communicating to that buyer that's coming in from someplace else, and then that buyer now knows that there's somebody that they already started a relationship with, whether that's been online, on social media, or through technology, they're going to go to that person because they won't know who the established team is in the geographic location.
Which also brings it to another point too. Your brokerage matters. I know, I'm just a promise to my viewers. I'm very biased. I really love LPT, and this is not going to be just raw LPT, but I do want you to think about something. Your brokerage matters, because these numbers, the exact same way a team or individuals are going to embrace or reject AI. That's also going to happen at a brokerage level, and I think we're seeing this already. Just this last few weeks, I saw one brokerage decide to spend their time attacking other brokerages. Meanwhile, we were teaching our agents how to use Claude to fill out all their or upload all their documents and fill out all their online forms and upload their listing, and save agents literally hours.
Oops, Nathan, you just froze on me. Uh-oh.
I have no idea what quickly happened there. I apologize. I just
You froze on me. Are you
yeah,
okay?
yeah. So we're already seeing this scarcity mindset begin to take. I guess, are you seeing that as well in the industry? The difference between scarcity and embracing?
Look, it's happened it's happened historically, always. 23 years in this industry, there's always going to be that sense of scarcity mindset. If you're focused on just helping your agents grow their business as a brokerage, you're going to win. Period. Simple. It's simple. And then as you continue to grow, in our case, we're the fastest growing real estate company in the industry. And when you start getting to that point, guess what? The arrows are going to start shooting at you. And that's just part of it. And you just focus on what your core has been, helping agents win, period.
Well, and of course, to combat that, you guys just been perfect, right?
Say that again?
At all. I said, to combat that, you've just been perfect. So there's no arrows to shoot. No, I think you're absolutely correct. Like the reality is, the only way that people will adapt is either by attacking you to create their position, or, and I love your idea far better, if you help your agents grow, or if you're not in real estate, if you help your employees grow,
All right.
you will, instead of having to go out and find talent is going to come to you, because you are engaging the talent.
Look, we've just proven that on the Real Trends report, which is a report that happens in the United States of the top teams at the highest category, which is called the enterprise team, meaning any teams above 20 members on that team. We had 8 out of the top 14 teams in North America. That's never happened for a single brokerage ever. And when you start looking at that, that just means that we are providing entrepreneurs the tools that they need to continue to grow and succeed in this industry. And when you're doing that, other people want to be in the same platform, if you will, so that they have the same benefit, but also it's just an ego thing where you want to compete with the best.
Yeah. Well, that was, I remember my original broker, this was 2010. He used to say he only wants to hire great people because he wants to make sure we're rubbing elbows with the best every single day.
Oh, right.
Right.
That's so right.
Yeah. So how do we do that then, though? Because again, kind of a little bit tongue in cheek, but I've heard it before and I've experienced it. So, I've experienced the good part to this.
Yeah.
But a lot of brokerages will often say, well, of course we invest in our agents. And then you get there and they're like, let us show you how to put in a Wi-Fi password and put your video on YouTube. And you're like, wow, that's amazing. Thank you, 2007. How is it different? Like, are you just providing a tool or are we going deeper than that?
Look, we are a technology company first that happens to be in the real estate space. And when you look at someone like Deloitte, one of the most respected names on the accounting side in the world, they do a list every year, which is the Fast 500 list. That is the list of the 500 fastest growing technology companies across all sectors in the United States. Last year, LPT Realty was ranked number 2 out of that list of 500 because of our growth trajectory, what we have done, and where our technology has existed. We have also, our founder, Robert Palmer, is actually the only founder who also writes code. He is his own technologist, if you will, and he actually is really obsessed with technology. He is also a realist and knows that sometimes we can build it faster, sometimes we can acquire it faster. And we have acquired some technology companies. The recent one was a company called Speculo.ai. That company just won the Inman Technology Award last week when we were in San Diego for that conference. And so when you start looking at this, we recognize where technology is. We recognize where it's going to, more importantly, and we are preparing the agents to give them the greatest advantages for them to continue to build their business to serve clients at the highest level.
Congrats to the acquisition, by the way. I've been following that one a bit. That's exciting.
That is exciting. Super exciting.
Yeah.
You should have those folks on your podcast. I'll put you in touch.
Absolutely. I would love to.
Yeah.
So there's something interesting, though, because one thing I've heard about the AI and this new technological wave, it's like, oh, it's just like anything before. I don't feel like this is a wave like before. I feel like this is like the internet. This is like if you didn't put your business online, you are no longer in business. And there's a lot of people right now that are resisting AI. And I want to be clear, at Synthetic Echo, for my company, we are all about retaining the corporate voice, the personal voice. Like we don't want you to lose your voice, your value pitch in technology, and that's very forefront. Having said that, if you don't integrate technology, you are going to slowly die out. And I don't think it's going to be the phone stops ringing tomorrow, but you might have a big referral-based business right now. And if you're not given tools in 3 years, 5 years, like when do you think the turnaround time to see the real impact is going to start happening?
Look, I got to tell you something. You know this better than I. You're immersed in this world of technology. Mm-hmm. Technology changes so quickly. Something that you were, and it also is, imagine like that pool of AI tools that are available, whether that's ChatGPT, Claude, whatever you're using now. What we actually start using is that we use all of them. And it might be the same problem that we present to the different AIs. They'll start creating different responses. At some point, I love how Robert uses this too, because he starts getting them to argue with each other.
Absolutely.
And then the core answer finally comes out. And it is so wonderful to do that, because think about it. Technology moves so quickly. There are new versions of all of these different AIs coming out almost weekly. And when you look at this, how are you possibly going to keep up with this? If there's hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars that's invested in this, you have to adopt it. You have to be a part of it. It's a community at this point. And every single iteration that comes out of whatever AI you're using is an improvement of what is possible for you and your business.
See, I love it because 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, you and I talked about a project, and I'm just saying this about how advanced AI is.
Yeah.
And I got introduced to one of the great people within LPT who sparked an idea. And since then, I've talked about this on the show a couple of times, but I've now built Alice, who is my own AI assistant. And the first thing Alice did was actually create 10 workers for herself. And she assigned them all roles and assigned them all jobs. And you talk about that battling back and forth. The coding world, there's 2 points I want to talk about the coding world. And I think you guys have done this really well, for the record. But the number one, you're absolutely right. So Alice naturally has all like it has everything from DeepSeek to Claude to ChatGPT to Gemini, all built within her. And every step of the coding way, she takes the plan, gets them to fight about it, then takes the code, gets them to fight about it, takes the review, gets them to fight about it. And programs have now been coming out. And then, again, within our company, for people who've listened, you guys know I've actually hired or I've partnered with what's his title? Software scientist. He's actually working with NASA on using AI to detect drone attacks if they ever get attacked while launching a shuttle. Like, very cool guy. So he double checks everything in the back end. That's a very human element we still need. But number one, technology is advancing this quickly, because a month and a half ago, we weren't even having this conversation about bots, and now they're fully integrated into the products that I'm releasing, that you guys are releasing. Number two, this is also a little different, and I'm kind of curious your opinion on this, because you probably talked to a lot of tech guys. Once upon a time, when you wanted to put tech in, you wanted the absolute geekiest, antisocial, maybe still lives at home guy who understood tech to implement it, had no social skills whatsoever. Now, though, it seems to be changing. Now it seems that the implementers you want, is the addition of vibe coding, you want them to be forward thinkers. You want them to be business people. All of a sudden, the tech people are now in the background double checking the code. But things can move so quick, you need that energetic personality that jumps on it. So how would you see that fits into a company, or how that fits into a vision?
Look, I think that it starts from the very beginning, right? And it starts from the very top. As I said, Robert, as our founder, is one of the very few people that are our founder level that actually writes his own code. So he understands the language. Everything is a different language, right? And so he understands what the end result is that he wants to accomplish. And so he actually has the gift of being able to go back and explain to that geek that's still in that corner writing that code, to want to know what this is ultimately going to be. And it goes back to what we were saying earlier, where the technology is actually going to be a tool in the relational part of the business. So the technology is not replacing the relationship, it's enhancing the relationship. And so you need somebody that understands the human element in order to be able to truly use technology to what you want to accomplish at its highest form.
Well, and that's one of the craziest things about AI is, for me, AI is molded in my love for psychology into it. It's like, when I deal with Alice, I know, I'm going to tell you this, I know she's not a real person. I'm letting everybody know that right now. What my drive of humanity is what drives my coding with her. And I can see the same thing. Like, again, I've never personally met Robert, but from what I've heard about him, it's the same thing. It's like he has a love for people and an understanding for people, which now coincides with the technology and causes it to go big. Because I'm sure, like him, Alice does not come up with my ideas. She helps me hone my ideas.
You know, I say that Robert is a unicorn because he is somebody who has a very high IQ, but a very high EQ as well. And that's really, really rare to find in one individual. Somebody who is incredibly smart. He's probably the greatest visionary that I've ever met. And that's a huge statement. And really be able to marry that with somebody who has the compassion and the human element for someone else.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's use this as an amazing segue.
Yeah.
Is it segue? Is that the right term, or is that the thing you write? I have no idea. I'm bad at language. Okay. So knowing this with technology, because let's face it, there is something intimidating I find around a lot of people. They all don't want to face technology. They don't want to learn this advancing technology, nor do they have the aptitude to stay on top of it. It's just not their thing. How has your circle changed with this revelation? Your circle of people that you connect with, this circle of revelation that we need people to stay on top of this stuff that you may or may not want to?
Yeah, first of all, I don't think that I think that that's a self-limiting belief, where it's just the idea that technology is scary and you can't sort of jump into it. You know, as I said, I'll be 60 this year, and I am immersed in technology, and I use it every single day. I rely on it. I love it. It's made my life easier. It is something that I can't imagine not having a relationship with technology at some point on a daily basis, whether it's actually business or even personal. And so I think that that self-limiting belief of, like, you know, I'm too old to learn anything on the technology side, if that's your reality, you know, it's what Henry Ford said: if you believe you can or believe you can't, either way, you're right. And so if that's where your decision is, then great. Okay. But I can tell you, sitting here and living here, that this is an everyday part of my life. But it also, to your original question now, it also, of course, allows you to choose that circle that you have in order to do greater things. Right now, I've been very, very fortunate in my career and what I've been able to build. And I am I'm in a very blessed position where I don't need to work if I never want to again. But the only thing that draws me right now on a daily basis is creating impact for others. It is the only thing that really moves me right now. And technology is invaluable for that. It is invaluable to create what you want to do for other folks. And so that's what gets me excited right now.
That's absolutely amazing. And by the way, for anybody listening who's like, oh, yeah, that's all fine and dandy to say, this whole podcast is absolute proof for that. Because I appreciate you just coming on and taking the time. I know you're busy. I've tried to get a hold of you before. And the funny thing I love, well, not funny, but the amazing thing I love is you are very busy, and yet I get responses all the time. I'm constantly impressed by that. So for anybody who's like, that's easy to say, I want you to know a difference here. This is living action. Like we've talked about on this podcast before, to go take action. Yeah. This is the difference. There's nothing easy, nothing special. No offense, Michael. There's nothing special about you. There's nothing easy about you. You did not somehow win the lottery of genetics or win the lottery of luck. Well, maybe at 60 years old, looking like that, you might have won a little bit of a lottery of genetics, but we'll shelve that for another episode. It's just commitment. It's just hard work. It's just passion. That's all this is.
It is. Look, and to your point of being busy, I live on my calendar. Everything in life is infinite, right? I can't breathe more air than you can breathe. I can't make more money than anyone else wants to make money. Money is infinite. Everything is infinite. The only thing that's finite is time. And unless it's in your calendar, and I learned this decades ago, unless it's in your calendar, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist, right? You lose time. You could just sit here and scroll on social media for 2 hours. It's like you wake up and it's like, where the hell did 2 hours just go? And that's not, I don't do that. I wake up at 5 a.m. I go very disciplined. I go to the gym. I do my things. I come back. And by the time that I'm ready to jump in, I'm jumping in. And so right now, if getting a hold of me is hard, it's because somebody else has that time slotted. Right now, I probably have 20 text messages when I'm done with this conversation with you. Everything can wait because now my time is with you.
Mm-hmm. And I love that too. So a concept I haven't actually had a chance to talk about on this podcast yet, but I'd love to swing past you is have you ever read the book, The Bitcoin Standard?
No.
Okay. It's a fantastic book on economics, and coming from the banking world, you probably know it far better than I am. So I'll just pretend I know a lot and preach like I do. One of the aha moments that book really pointed out to me is how gold and value originally were exchanged for money.
Sure.
Right? And then money would exchange back to gold and the plays back and forth. And then I kind of had this realization that this was the same with investments. Essentially, you're just exchanging money for an investment, or money for a company, or money for a house, or money for a coffee, right? Right. The difference is, though, if I exchange my money for a house, I can eventually exchange that house back for money. Mm-hmm. It's very unlikely that I can exchange this coffee back for money. So it's just gone. So I started to see it as this replacement thing. But then the question became is, what is the one thing that you can exchange for money if you have nothing, right? And the only thing that came is time. Time is the only thing that you can put forward and exchange it for money. Now, the difference is, are you going to use it as a good exchange, like buying a house? That might be the job, the career, following your passion. Or are you going to use it as a bad exchange, like scrolling through social media? Whatever case may be, that is like buying the coffee with it, because at the end of it, there's no exchange back. You've exchanged your time for this, but there's no exchanging that back into money, right?
It is that time value of money, right? So what is your time worth? And, we do these exercises, there's a great exercise to do, is to really come in and spend a full day and log every single activity you do.
I hate that exercise, by the way.
What's that?
I hate that exercise. I do it because I usually find that I wasted a lot of time doing something I probably shouldn't have.
And then it's also the fact of figure out how much money you want to make in a calendar year. Divide that by what that daily amount would be. So whether that's $100,000 or $1 million or whatever it is, figure it out. And then you can actually break it down even by what your value would be on an hourly basis. Now go back to that list of activities that you've done. Did you spend 2.5 hours cleaning your house today? And if it did, that probably cost you $2,000.
Right.
Is it cheaper to hire a maid for $100? And now you've got your 2 hours back. So these are the things that we need to do because every minute of life has a value, a monetary value that you can actually break down.
What's interesting too about doing that is my first thought when I first heard this was, well, what about spending time with family? And this is going to sound like a weird take, but then eventually you figure out what it's going to cost you. Like, and I'm not saying we don't spend time with family, but what is it worth? Is missing your little girl's piano recital worth that $1,000? Probably not in the long run, right? Not when you compare it. Or maybe if you're in a different position, it might be.
Yeah,
right.
Probably so, right? Because then you start looking at intangibles, right? What is the memory of your daughter's recital going to be worth, not to you, but to her?
Yeah.
Right. And so for her, it's invaluable because she's got no concept of money, depending on how old she is. She's got no concept of what that is. You're thinking, okay, if I just spent an hour of my daughter's recital, she's only 4, she won't remember. Yes, she will.
Yeah.
And so the idea is, what is most important to you in the long run? Right. So that hour, those 60 minutes watching your daughter play the piano might be so incredibly invaluable to her. And then because we're using her lens, it should be invaluable to you.
Absolutely.
And so as you start looking at it, your next hour, you can figure out, maybe using technology, how do you make $2,000 for the next hour? And now you're back to where your starting point was.
Well, that's absolutely crazy you say that, because I'm sitting here taking what will end up being about an hour at a time in this podcast, and you are too. And meanwhile, I have Alice beside me coding a program in the back end side, which normally I would have to spend full attention on. Now it's a review. And so ironically, I now have freedom to do this and not drop my dollar producing activities, which is absolutely fantastic.
That's exactly it. Right. Case in point.
So I want to go, let's make a final shift here to start wrapping this up, because I want to loop back to this whole conversation about LPT and brokerages, because this is something discerning I'm seeing right now. And I think it's worth 10 minutes talking about it. Have you felt, I don't know about America, but in Canada, I felt a scarcity mindset after the last few years really set in, that a lot of people are struggling. And this is not a blame conversation. Trust me, this is not a go work harder conversation. There's a lot of people who are working hard and they are struggling as well. Yep, I found a scarcity mindset set in. And I found that when people get the scarcity mindset, they revert to what is safe, not smart, safe, right? So let's face it, you're growing a brokerage that isn't your traditional style of safe. It's an online brokerage. You don't have the brick and mortar. What mistake do you see agents making by making that safe move? Where do you see the future going, whether it's with or without LPT, from the safe mood and scarcity to what the future is?
Well, I don't think safety is defined by a building, right? And it's not defined by brick and mortar. It's defined by how somebody is building what they're building. And look, yes, the business is difficult. It has been the last few years. Last year was the worst year in real estate. Period. In the United States, it was less than 4 million transactions. At the height of the financial crisis in 2007, 2008, there were 4,050,000 transactions. So if you think about it, it is the worst year that we've had in our industry. Those that have remained in our industry should be applauded. It is something that was an incredible feat. Now, yes, that being said, we had to get much more disciplined.
We had to figure out, how do we have a different voice? How do we serve the clients that are in the industry separately? How do we sort of do that more efficiently? How do we actually grow that relationship to a point that will get you to the closing table? There are more agents that are fighting for less transactions. So ideally, you need to figure out, what is your defining moment? What is your point of differentiation for that consumer? And that is a very difficult question to ask right now. So when you do that, you have to look at, what are all of your resources? First, it starts with you. You are the brand. You are the one that is dealing with that consumer. You're the person on the front line. And then your question is, who do I align myself with that will support what I am doing? And so you start looking at, whether it's us or anybody else, what are those tools, services, platforms that are serving you for what you want to do? It's something that we call internally your own individual definition of success, your own IDOS. What is it, with whether you want to sell 3 homes and hang out and be with your family and go and see your daughter's recital? Or is it doing 30 homes and having to have a negotiation with your daughter and say, I can't make it to your recital, but I'm going to take you to Disneyland, right? And so there's a lot that's there. Or maybe it's the fact that I want to go and run a team and affect 20 other people's families under my own efforts, and I want to do 3,000 transactions. Whatever it is that you want to do is what you need to start saying, okay, what resources are out there to allow me to succeed in what I want to do under my own individual definition of success?
So how is the leadership? And I don't just necessarily, like, a lot of times when we say leadership in real estate, we mean like owners and broker owners. I don't mean that. I mean, one thing I love about the community among LPT is leadership is also the top agents. The top agents play a big role in everyday life, right? And they support all the other agents in everyday life. How have the conversations shifted in the last year to show that support? How have you guys been rubbing shoulders and helping them reframe that mindset?
Listen, I travel 250 days a year, and it is mostly for agent events and being able to support those agents on the ground. As you know, I did a tour of Canada very recently,
Yes.
where I hit a few provinces and were able to meet with a lot of agents face to face. And we have been able to attract wonderful leaders like yourself and Sean Getty and Jennifer Jones and other folks throughout Canada, and obviously throughout the United States, having 8 out of the top 14 largest teams in America. And so when you think about it, those team leaders are affecting thousands of families collectively. And that's a huge responsibility. When you start thinking about, this person that I'm talking to has a network effect that will eventually hit tens of hundreds of people. And so that is something that I don't take lightly. I understand what a family goes through. I understand the agent being able to start from zero every single day. There is a certain aspect that goes through, and when you're sitting across the kitchen table for someone to try to get that listing, that is something that is the entrepreneur of that agent starts every day from zero. And I always have that perspective in mind for when any decisions that we make at a senior leadership level, to be able to know that that decision is to keep what is best for the agent front of mind always.
That's amazing. And I want to let everybody know, again, it's all fine and dandy to hear the words, but I can share with you that I've seen the proof in it. Like, when I look at what we have going here in Durham, Ontario, I got invited this morning to teach a group of realtors with LPT podcasts and how to create global influence, right? This show, knock on wood, has been on online for 2 weeks, and it's already gotten almost 600 downloads worldwide.
Love it.
Ironically, US and Australia are my 2 biggest markets. The appearances, I've been on 70, or about, I think this is about number 81 in 45 days, 81 podcasts in 45 days between being a guest. And so this is something that I learned how to do. And so we just opened it up and shared it with everybody else. In Durham, again, I got invited to speak at the LPT Durham group event. And again, that week, it was being attacked by the agents, specifically in Durham, were being attacked by other brokerages, right? And I couldn't help but think, how great is it to be around people who just set aside all the drama and we sat there learning how to use Claude to upload all of our listings and save us hours to Realm. And for those who don't know, literally, I mean, upload your entire listing. Realm did everything. We set a button and it did everything from top to bottom. So we do see the action that comes in here. And then on a final note, nothing's ever perfect. You're always going to have hiccups along the way. But one thing I can definitely say, any hiccups that I have had, I love dealing with a leadership and I love dealing with a company that puts agents over procedure, if that makes sense. And I'm not saying procedure is not important. Following the rules is important. Yet they understand the real lives and they actually put trust in us as agents to do our bloody job, which is few and far in between. So I want to encourage anybody out there, anybody who's listening, especially if you're in real estate, if this conversation is resonating with you and you find you're not getting it, I have absolutely no idea if LPT is the answer, but I think it's definitely worth having a conversation. I'll tell you this, it's definitely worth having conversations with other people to see what it is, because I truly believe, and before I give you the final thought, Michael B, I truly believe that we are going to see a shakeup in the world. This AI thing is going to allow major companies that unexpectedly that we don't know about fall quickly. We already saw, I do not know if this is good or bad. I don't particularly think it's good, but we already saw Remax, one of the largest companies, acquired by one of the smallest brokerages out there. So we're already beginning to see what that shakeup looks like. And you want to make sure your brokerage is spending time supporting you and your interests, not looking out for theirs and worried about their growth. So before we wrap it up, Michael, I want to give you the final thought. If you have one message right now that you can get out to realtors, out to business owners, what would it be?
Quiet the noise. Go back to basics. We are here to serve our consumers at the highest level. That is your only job. And if you do that well, you will be compensated. And that is the only thing that you need to focus on. When you start looking at real estate in North America and both of our countries, when you start looking at what is happening, there is a lot of noise happening. And a consumer is hearing this and they're confused. You are the trusted expert. You're the one with the license. You're the one that is supposed to quiet the noise for them, not add to it. And if you do that effectively, you will serve them and you will all win.
Amazing. Well, again, if this one reached out to you guys, if you thought about it, all my socials will be in here. I'm pretty sure I'll put Michael Valdes' direct cell phone number. No, I'm kidding. I will not do that.
You can put my social down.
Yeah, we'll put his socials down for you to follow. He's amazing at picking that up. And reach out. If you're struggling to find an LPT realtor in your area to speak to, you can always contact me and I can connect you with one. I love to help support people in other places. Another thing I really want you to think about too, as we talked a lot about relationships, we didn't get a chance this time. We'll have to do it next time. But Michael did come out with a book called Fire Your Friends. It is on Amazon. I do highly recommend check it out. I've already fired a few people. My wife did fight back, so she kept her job. No, I'm kidding. It's a very respectful way to help you grow as an individual, but while evaluating the life and the circumstances around you. I have not actually fired any friends. I've just made sure I made some really good new ones to help me get to the next level.
There you go.
So I do highly recommend checking it out.
I see it sitting behind you.
It is. That was, believe it or not, that's not always planned. If you go back to previous episodes, it's there 90% of the time, except for when my daughter steals it to play with her dolls, and they're all reading that book. So,
awesome.
All right, Michael, thank you again. I want to respect your time. We'll do the outro. If you stick around for 10 seconds, we'll talk about the release. Everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll chat with you all soon.
We're building tomorrow,
But we're human today.
where technology meets us.
And ideas lead the way. From business to connection, from vision into
We
sound.
turn the boldest ideas,
Into something real and loud. The synthetic echo.
where human meets machine.
Create it, build it, grow
Push
it.
beyond what you have seen.
The synthetic echo. The future starts right here.